The observer effect is the most powerful way to shift reality. You don't create desires, they already exist in the field. You either notice them or miss them, too caught up in fighting what is. But when your perception clears, when you stop resisting, when you enter that quiet space between thoughts, suddenly it becomes visible. What you want is already here, just vibrating on a different frequency. And now, all that's needed is not to ask, not to force, not to visualize, but to witness. You have no idea how powerfully you already influence reality. Not through actions, not through words, not even through thoughts. But simply by noticing. Every time you look at something, a tiny but precise collapse happens within the field. You're not just an observer. You're the reason something becomes real. Right now, as you listen, your emotions, assumptions, and interpretations are sending signals into the invisible matrix that is reshaping your life in this very moment. But there's a catch. Most people observe unconsciously. That's why they create what they don't want. They look at chaos and receive chaos. They look at fear and get confirmation of fear. They don't realize that every glance is an act of manifestation. You're already participating in the most powerful process in the universe. You just might not know how you're doing it yet. Imagine tuning a radio, trying to catch a clear signal. It's there, it definitely exists. But the airwaves are full of interference, noise from other frequencies, static. The music is playing, but it's distorted. The same thing happens with your perception. You try to see, to hear, but your awareness is cluttered. That noise isn't random. It's leftover emotions, unresolved thoughts, automatic reactions, past wounds, anxieties, expectations. It's like dust on the lens through which you view the world. You can use the most powerful practices, visualization, meditation, mantras. But if the lens is foggy, you'll create reality through distortion. Your anxiety is already observation. Your resentment is already a signal. Your irritation is already a choice. And the field doesn't distinguish whether you did it consciously or not. That's why so many people do everything right and still get the wrong results. They act, but end up observing the wrong thing. Until you clean your inner lens, you won't be able to choose the reality you truly want to live. There's a moment, very brief, almost invisible, between what you see and how you react. It's called the gap. It might last a fraction of a second, but that's where all your freedom lives. Most people don't even notice how quickly their attention slips into reaction. You see a headline and feel tense, hear a phrase and get irritated, recall a memory and sink into anxiety. You're not observing, you're fighting. But in every one of those moments, you have the chance to slow down, take a breath, and see without labeling, without judging. Just ask, what am I observing right now? When you don't react, you begin to see. You notice how an old program activates inside. You feel the pull to play out a familiar script. But you don't enter it, you stay present. That's observation without attachment. It's the state of a scientist watching an experiment, not interfering, yet changing everything with their presence. You don't suppress emotions, you don't run away, you simply hold a kind of inner stillness through which reality begins to unfold differently. When your awareness settles, something starts to rise, not from the mind, not from logic, but as if from the space around you. You begin to sense possibilities, as if they're already here. Just vibrating on another frequency. Love. Freedom. Ease. Creativity. They were never gone, you just couldn't perceive them because your receiver was out of tune. When you enter quiet, undistorted observation, something simple yet profound begins to unfold. You don't see just one reality. You glimpse several at once, as if the fabric of existence turns translucent. You're no longer trapped in a single storyline. It's as though, for the first time, you're seeing the matrix from within. And in that moment, you're not choosing through effort. You simply keep observing what feels true. And it begins to take shape. Not through visualization, not through control, but through a steady, gentle, I see this. No urgency. No expectation. And that's enough. A paradox. You see something you dislike and instantly react: anger, fear, frustration. It feels normal, it feels human. But something far more significant is happening. You're forming a bond with what you reject. You're anchoring it in the field. You're feeding it energy. Every emotional reaction isn't just a feeling. It's essentially a declaration: I choose this again. Because the quantum field doesn't distinguish between for or against. It only registers: this is where your focus is, this must matter. When you read a troubling headline and spiral into anxiety, you're telling the field, more of this, please. When you dwell on lack and feel despair, you reinforce the vibration of absence. It's like hitting repeat on a song you don't want to hear. You didn't mean to, but you fueled it with attention and emotion. And until you step out of that loop, you'll keep witnessing the same reality again and again. Simply because you continue engaging with it. You don't need to fight. You don't need to convince yourself everything's fine. This isn't about positive thinking. It's about pure witnessing. Next time something triggers you, don't rush to fix it. Instead, ask one simple question. What am I observing right now? In this exact moment. No analysis. No judgment. Just attention. Then ask a second question: how am I reacting to what I see? And in that pause, in that gap between perception and response, you access freedom. You can choose not to react. You can simply observe. You can decide. That's the point where reality begins to shift. Not when you suppress the negative, but when you stop being immersed in it. You become a quiet witness, like a documentarian recording events without interfering in the plot. And that's what creates space for transformation. Because the field doesn't hear your fear, it hears your clarity, your willingness to see and release. Sometimes, everything goes still. You're not thinking. You're not analyzing. You're simply present. It's not meditation. It's not a technique. It's the space between thoughts. A subtle pause. A silence you enter, or that gently enters you. Sometimes it happens in the most unexpected places. On a dusty road winding through hills. Along the cliffs of an ancient trail. Among ruins where the wind whispers through stone columns. And suddenly, you feel it, you're no longer the person who arrived. You're different. Calmer. Deeper. More whole. As if the space itself reshaped you, softly, effortlessly. Just through presence. You don't even know what changed. But the thoughts begin to fade. The body slows down. And something deep, clear, and fearless begins to rise within. As if, for a moment, reality stops reflecting noise and starts reflecting your true self. It's in these moments that you enter the field of pure potential. You're not asking, demanding, or defining. You simply are. And that state of being becomes a portal, into another way of living, another perception, another timeline. This is where real transformation begins. Not from the mind, but from the still point where everything pauses and unfolds at once. We don't invent desires. They already exist, like signals in a vast, invisible spectrum. But as long as your attention is stuck in lack, you simply can't hear them. The moment you stop struggling, the moment the tension to achieve fades, and you enter that silence between thoughts, clarity emerges. What you want already exists. Just on a different frequency. And now, the question isn't how to create it, but how to witness it, to see it and not turn away. It's like gazing at a beautiful painting. You're not painting it, not chasing it, you're simply seeing it. And in that seeing, something is transmitted. Your perception tells the field, this is mine. I recognize it. And the field responds, this isn't positive thinking. This is quantum perception. You no longer treat your desire as something in the future, you experience it as a reality that already exists, just not yet collapsed into your timeline. And if you keep witnessing it, quietly, steadily, like breathing, reality begins to adjust. Synchronicities appear. Coincidences. Sudden answers. Not because you tried, but because you saw and held. You've already begun observing. You've felt the shift. You've even seen signs. But then something external happens, a message, a comment, a flash of anxiety. You slip. And the old script returns. Not because you're weak, but because you identified with it. You stopped being the observer and became the reaction. You lost the clarity and started fighting what hadn't yet changed. Every emotional reaction to the old reality is a return to it. No matter how hard you try, if you respond with fear, doubt, or anger, you're unknowingly voting for the continuation of the old. But there is a way to remain in the point of power. Every time you feel yourself being pulled back, pause. Take a breath. Feel the ground beneath your feet holding you. And ask, what am I observing right now? Who am I choosing to be? In that moment, everything is decided. Not through action, but through attention, through an inner choice for clarity. You can observe fear without merging with it. You can see doubt without stepping into it. And that's the essential skill. It's not a struggle. It's the ability to hold the purity of the field, even when the world around you hasn't yet shifted. There comes a moment when you stop waiting. You're no longer checking if it worked. You're living in the reality you chose to observe. It becomes more tangible than your circumstances. You look at your bank account and feel no fear. You're alone, but you feel deeply loved. You're unwell, yet a vibration of health rises from within, beyond explanation. This isn't fantasy. It's a shift in perceptual weight. You've stopped believing your eyes. You've started trusting clarity. And in that moment, the world begins to align. Not because you earned it or proved anything, but because the field hears what has become real for you. And it agrees. That's the point where the inner becomes creative. You're no longer observing to receive. You've become the thing itself, and everything else follows. When you observe long enough, something shifts irreversibly. You no longer feel like someone who watches. You stop being external to reality. You begin to sense that everything you see is you. Not as ego, but as the space in which all things arise. You no longer create intentions. You no longer adjust your observations. You simply are. And in that being, reality aligns on its own, because there's no longer separation between the observer, the observed, and the act of observing. They are one. You are not a point, you are the field. You are the space in between, through which vibrations, meanings, and possibilities flow. You're not a tool. You are the medium itself. When the observer dissolves, what remains is infinite presence, where every state is simply a movement within you. This is no longer a practice or technique. It's a recognition, a remembering, and from that moment on, living any other way becomes impossible. Pause. Just for a moment. Don't change anything. Don't try to feel the right way. Just be here. Take a breath. Shallow. Simple. Alive. Feel how the breath touches you from within. As if you're breathing not air, but awareness. Now slow down. Ask yourself, what am I observing right now? And don't answer with words. Just look. Look at the sensations. Listen to the sound. Notice the silence between. Now ask, who am I choosing to be right now? And again, don't search for an answer. It's already there. Just stay with it. Without tension. Without a goal. As if you're gazing at fire. At the sky. At the field before you. And in that simplicity, let yourself become again what you've always been. Not the observer, but the space in which reality becomes possible.